Awesome. Well, thanks for joining again. Really appreciate your attendance and participation in this webinar today. Today's subject, we're going to talk about tech support, what we do for troubleshooting, for issues with SOLIDWORKS or errors with certain models, kind of what methods we use to help you guys. So, my name is Ben Modick. I'm a support engineer here at GoEngineer. Really quick before we get going, really our mission here at GoEngineer, obviously we provide SOLIDWORKS, we provide the design and manufacturing tools, but we also provide the expertise, right? So that's you can call in, you can reach one of us in tech support, and we can help you out. So we'll talk about how to get support here in a little bit. A little bit more, obviously I just mentioned tech support. That would be myself. We have about 30 other tech support engineers here. We also have even more technical staff that can help out with any questions that you guys have. Training, we have in-classroom and online training if you want to get signed up for that. Pretty much training on every single part of the software from simulation to PDM, surfacing, sheet metal, all of it. Okay. We also have a wide variety of 3D printers here. So if you have something that you want printed, you can always let us know, and we can help turn your part into reality. All right. Get my make sure my PowerPoint's working correctly here. Items to discuss in this webinar. Like I said, we have a lot to get through. It's a lot to pack in this in the short amount of time, and this is really one of our first tech support focused webinars. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of other things to get into, or get into any of these items in more detail at a later time. Okay, so how to get support. We're going to start off really quick with that. Make sure you guys you're efficiently and you're able to reach us as quickly as possible. Installing updates, activating SOLIDWORKS, kind of going through the different activation types. We're going to talk briefly on corrupt files, maybe how to avoid them, what to look for. Some notes on imported files and when not to work with 3D interconnect. Educational files, that one's going to be pretty brief and straightforward. Some of you may have come across some educational watermarks before, so we'll talk about that. And then finally, we're going to finish it off. I think the biggest thing here is performance. That's probably the largest amount of calls that we receive are due to SOLIDWORKS performance, whether it's slow, crashing, and this is kind of one of those things where really it's going to require probably a much more deeper dive that we can go into. So a lot to get through, and yeah, looking forward to it here. Okay, like I said, I can answer any questions at the end. So if there's something that that we talk about that you want to go into deeper, definitely let us know. If we can't get to it at the end of this, the 10 or 15 minute session after the webinar, we can make sure we get followed up with you. So we'll get that answered. Okay, so how to get support. Tech support, like I mentioned, we have quite a few people on our staff here working just dedicated tech support. We typically help, errors, messages, warnings, crashings. This is immediate support. There's two ways to get this support. First, you can email us, support@goengineer.com. This one's pretty common, pretty popular because you can send us files, screenshots, a lot of information about what's going on, and we can start working on it, gathering, with all that information. It makes it a little bit easier. If you want immediate support, typically our wait times are very short, less than 1 minute. You can give us a call, 888-559-6167, and that is kind of our phone queue structure there. Okay. All right. So, like I said, it's whatever you prefer. If you want to give us a call, send us an email. If you don't like, our hold music, that's totally okay. But like I said, our wait times are very, very, very low, and we kind of pride ourselves on that. So, all right. Installing updates. Okay, so just jumping right into it. Well, really quickly before we get going on that, getting support. So I want to, let's see here. You might have been to our website before. If you've been to our website, this is what it looks like. If you want to if you want some information on how to contact us, you can always click on More and Support and click Technical Support, and that has the information there, our times, the email, the phone number to reach us at, and we have some other information on here. We have our blogs, some common white papers, things like that, on some common issues. Okay. All right, jumping back into it. So the one thing that we like to make sure is that if you're on maintenance, even if you're off maintenance, we want you to be on the latest service pack of SolidWorks. So currently 2021 is Service Pack 3. Obviously 2020 is Service Pack 5, and Service Pack 5 is the latest release for every single version. Okay, so two quick ways to get updated. Obviously the one I recommend the most is just simply opening SolidWorks, the current version that you're running, and click Help Check for Updates. Help in the newer versions is the question mark icon in the top right corner. Okay. The other method would be to gather or to download a complete file set from our website, or maybe you have it already on your server somewhere at your company, and you can run the setup file for that complete download, and that will update the current version to the new version. No more DVDs. So SolidWorks stopped sending those out quite a while ago. If it's absolutely necessary, we can send you physical media, typically on a USB drive. Okay, so you just kind of gotta let us know on that one. To obtain the download, or if you want a USB stick, you can send an email to us. Again, support@GoEngineer.com. Okay. The last little note there here on this one. When necessary, sometimes we run into issues with installation errors. They're most common, I would say, when previous installations already exist on the computer, and maybe there's, the installation files are missing, or maybe the install is corrupt. We can help you with the clean reinstall of the program, and that would entail getting the complete file set from our website. So contacting us, and we'll help you out from there. Okay. All right. Parallel installations. This is what we would, if you need multiple versions of SolidWorks on your computer at a single time. So for instance, on this computer, I believe I have 4 or 5 installations going back, from 2021 and back to maybe 2018. So this is completely permissible. It's not always required. Obviously, if you have multiple customers or clients on different versions, or if you have a need for multiple versions, we can help you with that. So you can have as many versions as you would like on the same computer, right? That's totally okay. You can run multiple versions all at the same time on the same computer. The one thing to note here is that you can only have one serial number on a computer at any given time. So you can't have one version running a network license, and then a newer version running a standalone license, which we'll get into in a little bit here. Really, you want to make sure that the serial number that you're running is good for all versions. Okay. For parallel installations with the version already installed, you're going to run the update, check for updates, or you can run the setup file in the newly downloaded file set. If you reached out to us and got that. The option that you would click in the installation manager would be create a new install, okay, rather than updating the current version to a newer version. All right, and then the most important part here with parallel installs, typically on the summary page of the installation manager, you want to change the file path locations for the installation, so the directories are are much more organized. You don't get files and system files mixed up in between versions. So the two things to change would be the installation location. You'd want to add the year. So if I'm installing 2021, I want to change the installation location path and add 2021. Same for the toolbox and Whole Wizard. Every install will have a toolbox and Whole Wizard, whether or not you have SOLIDWORKS Professional or Premium, which would give you access to the toolbox. So that's, and then really not only for parallel installation, but I would recommend this workflow for just any installation of SOLIDWORKS to make it easier on yourself, be a little bit more organized. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the main takeaway there. If you need multiple versions, totally okay. Obviously, it takes up quite a bit of room on your computer to have 4 or 5 versions installed. These are pretty big applications, and even the installation files, you typically would want to probably keep those on your computer just in case you need to run a repair or a modify. So that can add up pretty quickly. Okay. All right. Jump back over here. Accessing SOLIDWORKS. So how SOLIDWORKS actually loads on your computer, right? There's 3 different methods for the program to open. So 3 different licensing methods. Really, there's 2 standalone methods and a network license. So the standalone, the first one is the most popular. Machine activation, right? So if you've activated SOLIDWORKS, or for the first time, or if you're going in between computers and you're deactivating and activating, that's the little prompt that comes up right when you start the program. If it fails to activate, obviously it won't let you in to the program. You can only have 1 computer active at a given time per serial number. Okay. So you must transfer the license manually, manually being either over the internet or through email, every time you want to switch computers. All right. This can be problematic if you forget to deactivate one computer at home or at work, and then you're changing locations. In this case, if you need it to be easier to maybe you forget something like that, sometimes I recommend just like a third-party remote desktop viewer. So it's something like TeamViewer, something similar. You can remote into your other computer and deactivate it if you need to, or you can access SOLIDWORKS or the files on that other computer if you need to. The other method is another standalone. So it's the same standalone license, but you switch it over to online license. This is kind of the ideal method for an engineer with 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever computers that they're running the program on. So again, you can only have 1 computer running at a time with the given serial number, but it's an automatic license transfer. So when you close the program, the SOLIDWORKS automatically deactivates. You don't have to do anything. It allows for remote capabilities, so something like TeamViewer, as I previously mentioned, you are able to actually deactivate manually, or deactivate the license if it's open, SOLIDWORKS is open and running on another computer of yours. You can forcefully close that the other session on the other machine. And last thing to note here, there is an offline mode. So online license, yes, it's you need internet access, obviously, to be able to communicate with the servers. But you can pull the license offline if you need to have it locked on a single computer for a given amount of time. The last method is a network license. So this requires you to connect to a server. The server, we've seen, the server can be a server at your location. You can VPN into the server. The server may also be a client computer that is acting as the server. Maybe it's your own client computer. That's okay. We have certain applications where I've seen that needing to be required. Okay. One thing to note here, obviously, for the network license, you need for the newer versions of SOLIDWORKS, the one thing we run into is having the correct operating system on the server. So you'd need at least Windows Server OS 2016 or 2019 to run the latest versions of SOLIDWORKS. So that would be 2020 or 2021. I mentioned it will also run on a client computer, so you can run Windows 10 if you need to. All right, so jumping into kind of what issues we see day to day here. on our tech support team. One of the most common, obviously, is machine activation errors. So we talked about machine activation versus online license. This is the error that many of you, I'm sure, have seen if you've used the program long enough. So it's saying another computer is already active. Typically, you would, like I said, you'd have to deactivate that automatically over the internet or via email. But this activation count exceed error is pretty straightforward. You need to deactivate the other computer, so you must open SOLIDWORKS, click the help button, click deactivate license. The only other way to get around this, if your machine is failing to activate, would be to change your serial number. So maybe you are indeed somehow someone gave you the wrong serial number to install on your computer and it won't activate because it's active on a coworker's computer, then they're using it. You would need to change your serial number to the open serial number to the correct serial number if that got mixed up somehow, and you can quickly do that by running a modify through the Windows control panel or apps and features. So modify the individual installation of SOLIDWORKS, and then you'll get an option there to change or to enter in the correct serial number. Okay. Other things to note, if you need us to help you with this, we really don't have the capabilities to jump on that other computer and deactivate it for you. But if for some reason the computer is stolen, crashed, obviously computers are more stable than where they were, even 10 years ago, 5 years ago. If the computer fails on you in any reason, we can permanently disable that old computer for you. Just note that would prevent SOLIDWORKS, loading on that machine in the future. So give us a call. We can get that, figured out for you if you need it, or shoot us an email. All right, I think that's all on that one. Some other activation errors if we're using an online license. So if you switched the online license over, or if you switched your license type over to online license in the admin portal on the SOLIDWORKS customer portal, you might have run into one of these 3 errors. I believe there's maybe 1 or 2 more. These are the most common. Okay. The first one, it says check your internet connection. Really what we need to do is clear the information, the login information that's been cached in this following folder, in the C drive, in the program data folder. Okay, the FlexNet folder would typically just require you to delete that or rename it to FlexNet old. This would refresh the login data. Note that with the program data folder, that's a hidden folder, and you must show that in Windows File Explorer. So if you run into this check internet, quickly go in, attempt to either delete or rename the FlexNet folder in the program data folder, and see if that resolves it. Not very common, but it does happen. The next one, license limit exceeded. Another computer has SOLIDWORKS open and is active, so we need to close that application. There's something hung preventing the program opening, obviously, and if it's actively being used on another computer, we need to resolve that. Lastly, if it's not enabled for your ID, this would be probably an issue that you have the incorrect username. When you started SOLIDWORKS, maybe for the first time you entered in the wrong credentials to use the online license feature. Okay, so you would need to navigate to your app data folder for your user, local SOLIDWORKS credential. We need to delete that ud.xml file. After I delete that file, it allows me to log in the next time I start SOLIDWORKS. Okay, and make sure that you're using the correct ID and password, obviously. If you need help with the online license tool, maybe running online when it shouldn't be running online, or it is, vice versa, it should be, and it's just not working correctly, and you're getting some weird prompts, definitely reach out to us and we can help with that. For any issues with with your passwords or your login, we don't control any of the SOLIDWORKS login information here on our end. Typically just request that you call SOLIDWORKS for that one to get immediate support. Obviously they have a password reset option. I've seen it take some time before or not work in the past, but you can always reach them directly. So that would be 1-800-693-9000, option 3. Okay. lastly, that was kind of the last thing. There aren't too many issues with the network license that we see. Obviously, the main one would be if you just have connection issues to the server. You can ping the server or telnet test the connection to the server. And usually if those two are established, the ping and the telnet, you are able to open SOLIDWORKS. That's the biggest issue. So maybe it's an issue with your VPN, some things to investigate that might be unique to your environment. All right, corrupt files. So kind of shifting gears here a little bit. We're making good time. We're gonna kind of go through all this. I know, like I mentioned, we have a lot to get through, so it's all kind of surface level stuff here. We don't have hours of time to talk about really in depth here, but this is a pretty common issue that we see. So an error was encountered when you're trying to open a file. The biggest piece of advice I can offer, obviously PDM. When possible, use PDM. PDM is free if you have professional or premium SOLIDWORKS. Make sure the files are stored locally on your hard drive when you're opening or saving them, to and from the program. Okay, so we don't recommend working on files over a network location, network server. That's not PDM. Also, cloud storage. We see this issue a lot when files are being opened and shared through the cloud. So keep a backup if you must share files over the cloud or network. If you get an assembly warning, or if you get this error, if you're trying to open assembly, one trick that you can attempt is to either obviously get a previous version if you're using PDM, or get a backup if you've already saved it somewhere. But if that doesn't work, one thing to try is to open the assembly in advanced configuration, which has all components and subassemblies suppressed, and you can go through one by one and unsuppress those components until you reach the corrupted file, which is maybe just requiring one component that needs to be recreated. So in the File Open menu in SOLIDWORKS, single left click your assembly, set the configuration to advanced, and then click Open. And then in this bottom right hand box you can see here, choose that middle option to open a new configuration, and then you can give it a name there. This one's just called Test. All right. If we need to, we can take a look on our end. We can try to investigate that file. So let us know if all else fails. Definitely reach out to us. All right. So I know it's pretty quick notes on corrupt files. But next we'll work on we'll look at imported files. So we're working on imported files. There's two methods. There's one method where we leave 3D interconnect on. This 3D interconnect allows us to open proprietary third-party application files. So Creo PRT files, ASM files, or Autodesk IPT or IAM files. We want to leave that on. It's just to allow to establish a link between those files so that they can be updated automatically if need be. The last method would be 3D interconnect off. So in Tools, Options, Import, the 3D interconnect box can be deselected. Okay, no link then is remain to the file. So if it's a step file or IGES file, it allows you to manipulate that file. If you leave 3D interconnect on, one thing you might see, like that import diagnostics box in the top right, there's no options to repair the file. It doesn't allow you to edit the file at all. All right. A little bit more on imported files. We get a lot of these types of errors with imported files. So the geometry essentially is corrupted and needs to be corrected. Section view model or section view issues, geometric conditions, or maybe zero thickness. So this is pretty common with step IGES XT files. Maybe you have unwanted surface bodies when it should be solid. If you're using STL files and you're maybe getting graphics bodies when you want solid or surface bodies, you can change those in the import options, similar where you'd find the 3D interconnect option. So you can select solid or surface how you want to import that STL file. One thing to note that's that's pretty important that I know I still see a lot of seasoned SOLIDWORKS users missing is the verification on rebuild option. This is the advanced body checking. So if you would see, maybe you're seeing some errors in the model, you want to uncheck this, and then if maybe the part will rebuild properly. But for the most robust model, you do want to leave that option on. Okay, if it's on, you'll need to go through, and if you're still getting error messages with it on versus off, you want to go in and actually investigate and repair the file. So there's two different types of repair concepts. The automatic repair, which would be using import diagnostics, so that'd have the program automatically attempt to fix the surface bodies and make a solid. This would have to be done before any features are added to the model. Okay, so you have to do this right after import. The next thing would be a manual repair. So you can do this anytime, even after adding features. And this would be found in Tools, Evaluate, Check. So here's a picture of one specific part that has 6 inconsistent faces. These require pretty extensive knowledge of surfacing tools, modeling features to repair. You basically have to go in and delete the faulty items, faces, edges, and create new ones to attempt to form a solid. Okay, so if you're interested in learning more about that, that might be, I think, a good class for that one would be like our surfacing class. We could do a 2-day class repairing files like this. So we go pretty in depth into that. Quick note on educational files. I know we're going on about a half hour here, so we'll keep moving along. The educational files are, when open in a commercial license, or permanently display a watermark. Okay, and if you save a commercial file in an EDU version, a permanent watermark is added. So we do not recommend working. Obviously you do not want to use educational files in a production environment. These are typical issues or errors you might see. The one saying it's educational version, unstructural use only, and then on the right you see a feature tree of an assembly that has the graduation cap and tassel icon letting you know. If you open a drawing that's educational, you'd see a watermark on the drawing as well. I believe the last thing we wanted to get into here is just discussing performance. So I think we have about 3 more slides here. Thanks everyone for staying on. The last thing I think besides activation errors, people call us the most with performance issues, whether it's slow, slow to load, slow to open, slow to rotate the model. The one thing we really need to start off with is, and you could take a look for in yourself on your own system, would be the RX SOLIDWORKS Rx tool. Okay, so in the SOLIDWORKS Rx tool, which you can find in the Windows through Windows Start, the diagnostic tab is a great place to start. It tells you a wealth of information about your machine and maybe why the program's not functioning 100%. The most important, I would say, is the graphics card model and the driver that you're running. We want to make sure that it's certified, that SOLIDWORKS has tested it, and it's the one that they recommend. You get the recommended driver for the card, for the correct card. So if you can't find it in the SOLIDWORKS Rx in the diagnostics tab, you can just run system information, click your Windows Start button, type in system information, then click display, and you can gather that information there. The operating system, okay, so Windows Home, for instance, is not supported in SOLIDWORKS. Also, Windows 7 end of life, right? That was 2021. So some things we'll have to be aware of. Last reboot time, maybe the last time you restarted your computer was a week, a month ago, and it's pending updates. That we've seen that cause issues in the past. Storage space is huge. So maybe your machine is running, your hard drive's getting pretty packed up, and it's causing some performance issues. So be aware of that as well. RAM is also one thing that probably causes pretty slow performance if you're running only maybe 8 gigabytes of RAM, which seems pretty archaic nowadays. 16 is kind of what we'd recommend, right, for a base level, for entry level systems. So you can watch that maybe in your task manager. And finally, version check. So this goes back to our first slide. We want to make sure that you're running the correct and most up-to-date version that you're able to. Two links to kind of if you haven't been to already, you can go to the system requirements, which will tell you all about the operating system, maybe some CPU requirements or suggestions. Another one would be the hardware certification. This is where you can check that you're running the correct driver for your video card. So if I go to the SOLIDWORKS driver website, I can enter in the version of SOLIDWORKS that I'm running, maybe my computer and the system model. So I'm running, there we go. And I can find, okay, there's my video card, it's the P600, and it recommends the 441.66 driver. Okay, and I can get that from the NVIDIA website by clicking that link. So this is a really good one to look out for. All right, very good. A couple more to go. In the same SOLIDWORKS Rx tool, in the Home tab, a couple things that you can try if you are running into performance issues would be the OpenGL mode and tools and options safe modes on the Home tab there. So close SOLIDWORKS and attempt to run in these two safe modes. The first safe mode, OpenGL, will bypass your graphical hardware. So maybe there's some issues causing crashes, performance with the card or driver that you're running. If you don't notice the issues after running OpenGL, that kind of pinpoints that issue. Tools and options, maybe you have some custom menu settings that cause some repeated crashing, or a coworker doesn't have any issues with their settings. You can bypass those tools and options and kind of run SOLIDWORKS in a default state. More on that if you need to reset your user settings. So if you want to start with essentially a fresh, clean slate as far as your shortcut buttons go and all of that, you can go through the registry editor. So click the Windows Start button after closing SOLIDWORKS, and then navigate to HKey Current User, Software SOLIDWORKS, SOLIDWORKS in the year, and you would rename that SOLIDWORKS folder. Okay, so SOLIDWORKS maybe 2020 old, and then I'd restart SOLIDWORKS, and you'll notice that you'll get prompted to accept the user end agreements and all of that. All right, trying to think if I had anything on that. Nope. We can help with that if you have any questions about resetting those settings. We can help. Last thing, our last slide here for the day. Other things to consider. This may be one of the more important slides of the day. The enhanced graphics setting is new for 2020. It was in beta in 2019. This is one that we've seen work well on some systems and not well on others. So if you're not running correct hardware driver and you have this enhanced graphics setting on, that could cause some performance issues. So if you are noticing that, you might want to just try disabling that for now. You would find that in Tools, Options, Performance, and uncheck enhanced graphics. And you would need to restart SOLIDWORKS for those changes to take effect. So give that a shot. Maybe you're seeing some weird issues with the colors in the display area, something like that. That might be a quick solution. The program, SOLIDWORKS, might automatically be forcing into OpenGL mode if it's detecting some severe issues with your graphical hardware, or maybe you're missing dedicated graphical hardware altogether and you're just running maybe an Intel integrated GPU on your motherboard. The program might not let you turn off OpenGL mode. But if you need to check on this, it would be in the same area, Tools, Option, Performance, and you can uncheck use software OpenGL. Okay, that would have to be done before opening any files in SOLIDWORKS. If you can't deselect OpenGL, then obviously it's pointing to some issues with the hardware, and we can help you diagnose that if need be. Last thing here, so if you're getting graphics or subscription notifications and you want to turn those off, maybe the SOLIDWORKS Rx program just can't figure out exactly the hardware and driver that you're running for some reason, you can always dismiss that in the systems tray. So in this case, I've right-clicked in the image in the bottom right-click on the SOLIDWORKS icon in the system tray, and you can quickly choose to dismiss those notifications. Okay. So if you're aware that you're running the correct driver and everything else is correct on your system, then you can do that. So that really was kind of a surface level dive into what we see every day in tech support. Kind of the main issues for people calling in. Again, how to reach us. You can always sign up for our training, check out our YouTube video. We have a lot of instructional videos on there. I will say that if I did mention before, if you're running into errors, messages, warnings, crashing, give us a call, send us an email, tech support. If you're looking for more how-to or personal kind of one-on-one trainings on how do I do this, or maybe verify my simulation results, you can always reach one of our application engineers. You can set up a time to talk with one of them. Okay, so that would be really quick. Back on our website, in the support field, you can always schedule sessions with us as well. So you can schedule a 15-minute tech support session, or you can schedule an application mentoring session if you want the more one-on-one guide on how to do a certain thing. So, all right. So that about sums it up. I'm not sure if we have any questions. You can type them in now if you do. Otherwise, kind of that's really all we wanted to discuss today in this webinar. So I really appreciate everyone coming out.